Now to another day in the uncertain life of that immigration legislation on Capitol Hill. One Senate lawmaker said it is a whisper close to being released, which he hopes will turn down the loud voices of denunciation of a bill that hasn't even been seen yet.
It is illegal to cross our border, but apparently we're concocting some sort of deal to allow the president to shut down the border after 5,000 people break the law.
There's lots of things that are out there that are just patently false. For instance, this ongoing thing that this allows 5,000 people in a day every day and checks them in. There's no way that's in the bill. Number one, I would never agree to that.
The weeks of negotiations sought to bolt together the GOP desire for tough border enforcement with the president's request for aid for Ukraine and Israel. The bill may be public soon, but the Senate's top Republican sounds like he's already working on Plan B.
It's time for us to move something, hopefully including a border agreement, but we need to get help to Israel and to Ukraine quickly.
CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez joins me now from Washington. Camilo, first of all, what do we know about the deal? And is it possible to know what's holding up the publication of the bill's language?
Good evening, John. To answer the first question, we have heard that this potential deal between the White House and a small group of senators in Congress would give the president an unprecedented sweeping power to effectively suspend asylum law. Right now, as you know, John, U.S. law allows migrants to request asylum if they are on U.S. soil, even if they enter the country illegally. But this emerging deal would allow the Department of Homeland Security, John, to effectively shut down asylum processing in between the ports of entry along the U.S.-Mexico border if the number of people crossing into the U.S. illegally reaches a certain level. And it would also instruct officials to try to adjudicate asylum cases fully within 6 months. That obviously is a dramatic difference from the current years-long waits that many asylum seekers are facing to get decisions on their cases. Importantly, however, this would preserve asylum processing at the official ports of entry and also allow asylum seekers who pass their initial screenings with asylum officers to work in the U.S. immediately legally. So that would be a change that would be welcomed by New York City and other places that are struggling, as you know, John, to house migrants who have no ties to the U.S. and who cannot legally work here. So this is a proposal that, if it actually materializes, which is a big question, will garner criticism from both the left and the right.
Camilo, can you help me understand, and everyone else understand, the number 5,000 and the role it plays and what would happen in this legislation, such as we know, because it hasn't been published, because, as Senator Langford said, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
That's right, John. So what we know is that this shutdown authority to suspend asylum law would be triggered after border officials record an average of 5,000 daily crossings in 7 days. It would also be discretionary at a 4,000 daily apprehension average. So those are the discretionary and mandatory triggers for this ability to shut down asylum processing and to suspend asylum law. However, when this authority is not invoked, that doesn't mean that 5,000 people can cross into the U.S. illegally uninhibited, John, and that they will not face any penalties or repercussions. They will still be placed in immigration removal proceedings and can be removed or returned to another country or Mexico under existing immigration authorities. So that's an important point of clarification, John.
And super quickly, Camilo, once it hits 5,000, does that mean the border is shut for asylum claims down to zero?
Migrants who cross into the U.S. illegally in between ports of entry would not be eligible for asylum when this sweeping authority is invoked, but asylum would still be accessible at the ports of entry. In fact, the deal will mandate officials to process a certain number of asylum seekers at these ports, at these official crossings, when the authority is invoked, John.
Camilo Montoya-Galvez in Washington, as always, we're very grateful. Thanks.